Greetings, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TGT News. It is a timely conversation that we're going to be having. If you're a parent or a guardian, your children or your child would have gone out to school, but also facing individuals at the pumps and increase in price. We are going in depth on what that can mean to you, your pocket, and the general state of being in Trinidad and Tobago with gas station owner, Mr. Reval Chattergoon.
Good day. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure having you, Mr. Chattergoon. And well, the thing, we are speaking about prices at the pumps. And it seems as though there's so much more information than just saying, okay, well, there's $1 more for premium, there's $1 more for super, there's 50 cents more for diesel. So even before we get into the price itself, there are different types of owners and operators. So take us through those tiers, please.
So presently, there are basically 4 different types. Many years ago, they probably had only 2. And the 2 would have been owner dealers like myself and company-owned, company operated. And that, as time went by, that shifted. So the simplest one is like mine, the owner dealers. And what that means is that we own our property and we sell fuel on it. So therefore, all expenses as it relate to the site is ours. And that would somewhat not in a nutshell. So we pay our mortgages, we pay our taxes on it, we pay our license, and so on. Then you have, similar to me, you have company-owned, company-operated. And this is owned whether it be state-owned enterprise or even private as Unipet and NP in those two things. But what happened is that both companies will own their property and they manage it themselves. Now they benefit from both wholesale margins and retail margins. Now I want to correct myself. Very often we talk about margins. We do not get margins. We get commissions per liter. And that is a big misconception along the way. But coming back to your point, so we have owner dealers, we have company-owned, company-run. You have what we call franchisees. And this is a sort of new model within the past 5 to 10 years, is where somebody runs the station on behalf of the 2 distributors, and they get a commission per liter, but the wholesaler gets the majority of it. And then you have another simple one, is where the state-owned enterprise or Unipet would own the property and they rent it out. And then that person who's renting it would get retailers' commissions, but they also benefit from different things, as small things as light bulbs, maintenance of the property. Obviously, they won't have to pay land tax, etc., and etc. That what we would have. So in terms of investment, the owner-dealer have the largest investment. And having the largest investment in terms of operation expenses, we actually make the least amount because, it's all ours, so all liabilities, all expenses is also ours as well. So because our fuel industry is so regulated by the government, they dictate, well, okay, this is evenly and wrongly thing. Everybody who's in retail will get this, but it will vary now with the wholesaler's effect on the retailer per se.
And you see, while the grass growing, the horse starving, and there's been conversation about privatizing the entire fuel industry. Do you see any changes in this structure that you just described on the horizon, or are there some things that you'd want to see changed?
So, as an owner dealer, if you privatize, then you make everybody efficient. And that is a nice little snippet to understand. So if you would recall, sometime in 2014 or 2013, the Guardian newspaper would have reported 36 or 34 stations are up for grabs. Now, over the years, in my 30 years or so here, right, this has always been very common. You're running a station, your grandfather probably had it, your father have it, you take it over and somebody kick you out. And that is fearful. Now, with owner dealers like me, it's either I own it or sell it. It's as simple as that. So by giving the opportunity that somebody, because remember there are generations that own sites. So, and there are many older people in the business that were actually booted out for whatever reason I am not at liberty to talk about, but it has happened. So now you give them the opportunity to say, well, I will own my site. Yes, I will be a little more liable in terms of expenses, but nobody could put me out. And now when I pass on, I could leave it for a generation ahead. So what does that mean? What does that mean is simply that in liberalization, you have different people that owning the site. So all of a sudden, the four different types we talk about, you would have one type, owner dealers. So now everybody form under that umbrella. We're a little more efficient. We will not be benefit from any state funding or able to run losses. So I think we'll be more efficient. I think to the older dealers, it is certainly welcome in terms of being able to buy the asset. Here's the punchline now. Can we afford to pay the mortgage? Because at our margins that we're making at 4% for investment that is a couple millions, that is where the conversations has to go. Now, we have been in the industry for about 30 years. We have mortgaged our properties to achieve other stuff. I am doing a new site, and I will tell you it's very difficult, but it's evenly playing field because rather than I have a preferred rent or preferred agreement. Now all of us levels the field in terms of our operating expense.
Speaking about leveling the field, Mr. Chattergoon, is there any sort of unified front with regard to representation to actually advocate for the cause of owner dealers?
So, yes and no. Strange question, right? Strange response. So there is a body called Petroleum Dealers, which is an act of parliament that's supposedly to take all of these things. But like any organization, you know, based on the experience of that person, whether it be knowledge, whether life lessons is what they can do, right? So I'm not going to throw salt on nobody who here. They're probably doing the best that they can. Here's the punchline. When you have so much problems between a distributor and who own a station, right? Basically landlord agreements, you tend to forget or sideline the macro enterprise, the macro issues. In our situation, things like margins should be on foremost, things like taxation on our commissions rather than that. Things like accounting for evaporation and spillage should be foremost, right? Do you know that the road tank wagons are not calibrated by Trinidad Bureau standards? And we are oil and gas industry for as time as far back as we could remember. So we're playing catch up while we are killing the industry. So if I can lobby, and I do have a few dealers that give me the support, perhaps something like a owner dealers association may come out, all right, until we get all of this thing, because we need representation, we need owner dealers, because we have the most at risk in this game, because we have mortgages to pay. We simply cannot roll over and hope that we're going to sell more gas tomorrow because the disposable income from the consumer has fallen. They're no longer fuel as essential. You have luxury expense in fuel and necessity now. Necessity is that you must go to work, but you have to put fuel to go there. The luxury might be the evening drive, or taking a beach run, or going to the restaurant, or these sort of things. So I've heard many times over the past 2 years, oh, the gas station, your business okay. The gas station actually fell pre-COVID, right, to somewhere between 50-60%. And just throw that figure for you.
And I'm glad that you're able to throw that figure, because I don't necessarily want to dive directly into your business, but the fact that you have peers in the industry that you would speak with, so you can speak to a kind of common experience. But that is something that we do when we return from this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with gas station owner, Mr. Reval Chattergoon. We're looking at the increase at the pumps and other factors that bear consideration. And Mr. Chattergoon, just before we took the break, you're saying that there's common experiences, the experiences of peers in the industry that you have a little handle on. But it seems as though there's so many misconceptions, because you also spoke about that. Yes, you have a gas station, you're good, man, because everybody needs gas. But what are some of those other misconceptions? And I even asked that question looking at the fact that the business model seems to be changing. If you have a gas station, you have to have a store or storefront to go with it. Is that one of them?
Well, absolutely. So let me start off the first misconception: margins. Margins in any dictionary, in any accounting firm, in any layman term, is always expressed as percentage per dollar. So if any price go up, you're supposed to make more. We do not get margins. We get commission per liter. So for example, right, if I'm to take you back from 2005 to 2016, our margins did not increase, but we had 5 price increases. So your commissions remain the same and the price go up, and as a result, your return on investment, you have to put out more to get the same amount, right? Fell. So I hope that I clarify that, right? So in other words, what does the gas station dealer get for this $1 increase? Actually zero. When you think about it, you actually get negative, because now you have business green fund and business levy to pay on your sale is higher. So for example, if you see the table that I've had on $100, it will be about 90 cents, but you're not selling the same amount per liter. So if you used to sell 20 liters and make about $4 thereabout, you're selling 16 liters and you'll make about 3 something, but your credit card charges is the same, your taxation is the same, and everything under the sun remain the same. So this is what you're really scraping to the bottom of the barrel here for that. The other misconception that is very much alive in the social media today is that we remove any subsidies, and it almost seems as this is a conversation that took off yesterday. That is not the case. Talk of this removal of a subsidy happened in 2012. In October 2012, when the budget statement was read, they moved the premium price of gasoline from $4 to $5.75. And guess how much a gas station get? Zero. Right? So it's not that this is something new. It has been happening. Yes, this government certainly accelerated it because subsidies and transfer on one end, you're giving the subsidies to people that using it. But perhaps the central government to receive that dollar for a subsidy might very well cost the taxpayer certainly more than $1.
And with that in mind, Mr. Chattergoon, I'm glad that you're able to carry us back into the history of it, but also take us forward. So in terms of what that dollar may represent, or the 50 cents if you're looking at diesel, what are some of those implications if the margins are not increased? If you still keep on getting that point that you've been referencing in terms of zero?
So, the first thing is to throw up your hand in the air and close up, right? That may not be the first response. We as businessmen will try and find our way as much as we can before we make that. The reality is that what are these steps? Because your price is set, your volume is set, your profit is set, but the variable cost is all the expenditure over the sum, whether it be minimum wage, whether it be the NIS will probably go up, whether it be the TN Tech bill may go up, right? All of that continues to be variable. So what do? We have to try now how to limit those expenses. So is it that we are no longer as a society in Trinidad and Tobago would be able to go to a station 24 hours now? That will have to be up for consideration. So probably a station might open less hours per day and probably less days per week. This will have to be the conversation going forward. And in an individual base, of course, right? Because everybody, every gas station operator will account for their increases differently, right? Is it that you can no longer pay with a credit card? Or, plenty gas stations have a minimum, which the bank may say, well, you cannot do it. So let me explain that one time. Understand when you use your Links card, the bank takes 75 cents on that. Plus you use a phone call, which is $1. As a liter, I make 27 cents. So that means, assuming that we have no business levy and no operation, that I need to sell at least 4 liters or 5 liters to break even. And that is why you did. Now, if the bank want to say, hey, Mr. Chattergoon, Mr. Gas Station dealer, we don't want no charges from you. Well, we know that will never happen, but it's certainly where conversation needs to go, right? Credit cards, you get a percentage. Understandably, that your credit card is depending on whoever merchant that you choose and all of that, right? It's anywhere between 1%, 1.3, 1.5%, right? At a profit margin at 4%, understand that is nearly half your profit there, right? And interestingly enough, as we start talking about premium, when premium moved from 4 to 5.75, in those days you were paying almost 3% on your credit card. What that meant is that somebody paid a credit card, you was losing money on it. So this is where the direction needs to go, where conversation needs to go. We have the Green Fund and Business Levy, as we spoke about. Green Fund and Business Levy is on our side. And I consider that to be a little bit prejudice. Why is that prejudice? It's because you have other entities paying on the commission. We do not get a margin, we get a commission as the beginning of our conversation, right?
And with that, Mr. Chattergoon, in the 2 minutes that we have, because looking, and that is kind of mind-blowing to me in terms of you need to spend that 4 liters to break even. But in a society where we're moving a lot more to a cashless sort of operation, what are some of the things that you think should be implemented? You just spoke about levies. So is that something that we need to look at? If so, how it is we going to deal with it? How do we fix this?
So I will start out with saying that to me, it's a simple fix is to let us be fair to all. As I was telling you, it was prejudice in terms of how we pay our tax. We pay our tax on the sale. But here's what. NLCB pays on the commission for the agents. Yeah. Insurance pay on the commissions that they earn. Travel agency pays on the commission. So it's not rocket science. We're not asking for something special. It's already there. Now on that end, gas stations since in the 70s or 80s acted as a major collection agency for the state. This is exactly what we are. In this case, Paria refines or buy is the wholesaler, and then you have NP and you have Unipet, i.e. distributors. And at nowhere the fuel, other than with Unipet with the double filter, there's any additives, there's any change of chemistry to it. So if Unipet, in my mind, and NP are paying the Green Fund and Business Levy, we are agent of them, then the dealer ought not to be paying. And likewise, if they say, well, they're collecting fee state. So there's a little bit of double taxation, but I am hopeful, and I'm sure that I will meet with Minister Young to discuss these issues soon.
And on that message of hope, we thank you very much for your time, Mr. Chattergoon, because time is of the essence. So we thank you for making that time for us. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth. Thank you for joining us.